Drew, Michael's friend.
Diego, Michael's friend.
Emma CD, Michael's friend.
Madeline, Michael's friend.
Hi, I'm Michael Elliott. Star Wars, Mission Impossible, James Bond. All of these cult classic franchises that take place over, have spanned generations and told increasingly entertaining stories while doing so. But could you imagine trying to take the stories that sometimes take place over 10, 9, 11 films and put them into one? I couldn't. And that is why I argue that film franchises are a better storytelling medium than standalone films. See, as someone with shamefully over 300 movies logged on their letterboxd, it's needless to say that I like movies. And it's with this experience I feel aptly qualified to defend my positioning I reasoned earlier. Whether it be how they give us more time with the story, give us time to grow with the characters, or immerse us in the world that they are building. My first main point is the one I just stated. More film franchises give us more time with the story. This extended storytelling capability allows for plots to unfurl over the course of many, many movies. A good example of this is the MCU's Infinity Saga. It takes place over 23 movies and culminates in Avengers Endgame after 11 years. Another example of this is the Harry Potter franchise and its concept of Horcruxes that are introduced in the first film and given the entire series to come to fruition. See, it's easy to get lost among all of these multiple installments, and so to avoid that, film franchises often use a consistent narrative continuity. This makes sure that different ideas and things stay the same, but different story beats happen throughout different movies, not overwhelming audiences with too much in one or too little in the other. A perfect example of this, and my personal favorite, is the Lord of the Rings franchise, where they have the journey from the Shire to Mount Doom to destroy the One Ring happening over the course of 3 movies, rather than cramming the entire story into one. My next main point would be, that audiences and characters are allowed to grow more over time than in one standalone film. See, when we spend sometimes 11 years with a character, we begin to know and appreciate them better. So much so to where we know their personality, their flaws, their motivations for why they do things. And that makes it to when things happen to them, it's much more significant. The most recent example of this happening that I can think of is the relationship between Tony Stark and the audience throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Since his introduction in the first Iron Man movie all the way up into his sacrifice in Avengers Endgame, we connect with him. And so that makes his sacrifice all the more heartbreaking rather than if it were to happen just in one movie. These multi-film character arcs don't focus on character growth rather than our own. And a perfect example of a character evolving would be Luke Skywalker, from his beginnings as a humble and innocent farm boy to a seasoned Jedi and decorated war hero over the course of the original trilogy. This transformation makes it feel less like a story and more like we're watching someone's life evolve. This leads me to my last point. Film franchises allow the audience to get lost in their immersive and in-depth worlds that they build. Because they have multiple installments, every single one allows us to expand the world and add new layers to the story, introducing new pieces of history, lore, culture, etc. A perfect example of this in my mind is Star Wars. The map behind me is the map of its galaxy. We see every single one of these planets at least once. You couldn't do that in just one movie, and if you could, they wouldn't be anything more than just pretty scenery. See, with added world building, It's not just literally making worlds, though. It's also the feeling that the story happens beyond the screen. And even when we are not watching it, things happen over time. A perfect example of this is the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit trilogy, where they show, in the Lord of the Rings, where we see the result of the events that happened in the Hobbit movies. They don't show a consistent world, but they show an ever-changing one that feels more real, like our own. Now, as I conclude this speech, I hope I made a persuasive argument as to why I believe that film franchises are better than standalone movies. See, as I stated earlier, they give us time with the characters. They give us time with the story. They give us time to get lost in the worlds. As you can probably guess, I've experienced that. And so it's my call to you that next time you go to sit down and watch a movie, you don't be scared by a 25-hour watch time. You just start it and see where it takes you. I promise the journey is so much more worth it than you'll ever know.
Okay. That's the movies are ads then.
Well, the ones I talked about on it, I highly recommend.
You were missing a few movies on that we were referencing on.
That was 7 minutes. That felt like